So we got some gamma going on. Having a good time. Okay. Let us rock and roll. Great idea for a stream. It's hard to tier indie games, but I'm sure you are the most qualified in the U.S. Aw. I'll be honest. I think Mr. MKL and others maybe. But yeah, in the U.S., that's a good... Mr. MKL is technically not in the U.S., so I win. Okay. Let's see. Your chat doesn't seem to be working on stream. You know why? It's because I'm a bum, and I don't think it refreshes when... Oh, yeah, see, I moved the window now.
Yeah, it's working now.
Yeah, now it is.
Now I need to get...
Fix.
But now I fudged up my cropping because of... I changed the size of the window. Yeah, there you go.
Are you screen capturing the chat from the
Pop
Twitch
out.
window?
No, I have it from the pop-out.
Yeah, pop-out's a little funny.
Oh, is it? Okay.
When we get some free time, if you want, I could like chill with you and we could like figure a couple of these things out for you.
Oh yeah.
Because there's like multiple ways
For
to do these
sure.
things. And some of them are better than others, and some of them are just easier than others.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be honest. I didn't prep for this, so.
Yeah.
It's, okay. So.
We're flying by the seat of our pants, folks.
Yeah.
That's how the most important content is usually created.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I did want to say shout outs to Mohast for and Flynn for like setting this kind of stuff up where we're gonna just talking about the tiers in Merfight and what's going on with these characters.
For sure.
You two brought it up a while back and kind of just decided to let's have some of the community sit down and figure this out.
Yeah, and you know what? You're just a consummate professional because that is a great segue right into the conversation. Thanks for joining us, folks. If you're watching this on VOD or YouTube, this is the Merfight tier list conversation between myself, Mohas Gridlock, Mr. MKL, and Flinju, as well as Gaming Warthog joining us. The game is out now on Steam Early Access. You can also check it out on Merfight.com. It's been in sort of, what would you call it, like pre-early access? Alpha? For a while?
Alpha, pre-alpha. I don't know how you want to...
Something like that. So we have some experience playing the game, and we just wanted to talk about the power level of the characters. You know, this isn't like, you know, anything's written in stone. This isn't the pissing contest by any means. We're just trying to talk about what we know about the game and how the characters compare. So first things first, I want to just preface all of this by saying I am a huge proponent of using using all of the antelope. You know, we want to use the entire length and width of the tier list. So I'm not the kind of guy who's going to be like, oh, everyone's S tier because this game's perfect, and you know, you just pick who you want. Obviously, like, yes, that's true, but we're here to actually analyze. So if we don't put anything in D, there's no point in having D. If we don't want to put anything in S, there's no point in having S. So I think we should at least have something in S and something in D. And if it's not the case, then we can think about, you know, how we're differentiating things. But I want to start off real quick. Let's just make it real easy. Who do you folks think is at the top of the pyramid?
Well, do you see what Style Katarn said?
Is that in chat?
Their professional tier list is S tier Odon, everyone else tier, everyone else.
I don't know why my chat's
That's really
not
funny
telling
because
me,
what you just said.
Yeah, essentially.
Well, Odon did have the ability to crash the game for a while. I feel like that is an S tier technique.
That's true.
You get the side you want because if you don't, the game literally breaks down. but yeah, actually, to get serious here, I was thinking that I'm not sure if I would put anybody in like S rank as in like, oh, they're like the absolute best. But it's hard to say because like I've mostly just played Arctina, so my experience of the cast is basically just the Arctina matchup, and you know, the game is still the meta's still very unexplored, much like the real depths of the ocean.
Yep. Well, it's funny you say that because I would actually, I mean, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I would actually put Arctina up there at S.
Oh, interesting.
Arctina's really good.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my
I'm
looking at my preliminary tier list, and she's up there in S right now. So
yeah, you know, yeah. Just to be clear, I would have put her at like A at worst.
For sure.
But I can see. I mean, it's an interesting thing about tier lists where you're right. Like if tiers are so compressed, like if there's not that much of a difference between characters, you probably don't need S through D tier, right? It might just be you're like whatever. It's A, B, and C,
A, B, C,
right?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
that's it. The tiers are so compressed that's where they are. I don't necessarily think that's what the case is with Merfight. I think it's really early, so it can be you can argue it either way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a day one, first
yeah, you know,
first week on Steam tier list is what this is.
Yep, exactly. Because like, just I feel like it's just hard for me to judge when like I don't really know anybody's matchup against Angelique, for example. I feel like she's definitely an unexplored character, metagame wise.
Yeah,
I mean,
she
she
But yeah, it's like
definitely.
but I guess like to get more on the topic here, since we're on Artina's placement, yeah, as her designated community main, I do think that she does make sense as an S tier, despite what I was just saying, because she does have very good tools. It's like she doesn't have a projectile, but she's a great zoner just for normals. And so because they're not projectiles, they are not too terrible at closer range. And I do think that I have some untapped ways of getting around the more projectile heavy characters. And plus she has some solid, reliable damage dealing combos, like that 2 super combo I pretty much exclusively use whenever I can.
What were we gonna say, Flynn?
She fights with a stick or a spear or whatnot, like a staff. Those
Yeah,
hitboxes themselves, like it's not like if I throw my arm out to punch, you could punch my arm. You can't punch that out of the air, correct?
Yeah.
I don't
They're
actually
disjointed,
know.
right?
I think so. Yeah,
I
they're
believe
disjointed.
so.
I think they're pretty
Yeah.
disjointed.
So she's got good
And
range.
for the
she's got-
uninitiated, that just means that like the hurt box and the hit box aren't overlapping so much.
Yeah, like in Marvel 2, if Venom does a heavy punch, you could punch his arm from like mid-screen. You can't do that to somebody with a sword, for example.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
she's got that going on. She's got good pressure because she's got those long, even if you're blocking it, it's a whole block string.
Yep.
You got to really be on point with knowing either when you could try to poke out of that or when you need to use a defensive mechanic. And then even then, like not having projectiles, she's got that ice spike, which stays out a lot longer than it looks. So a lot of times you'll roll, you'll go to get your opportunity in. Now she's been pushed over from swinging. When you rolled out of the way, you lean forward into an ice spike, you lose your turn.
Yeah.
So she can stay really
and-
oppressive
yep.
if she wants to.
Yeah, but not to mention, I do think that she does kind of wind out the trade-off of not having projectile here, because the lack of projectile means that her very long-range normals can mix you up from full screen, because her universal overhead and her crouching heavy kick both have very, very good range.
Oh yeah, she's got probably the best sweep in the game.
Like,
I'd say.
yeah, so it's like, so when I'm at like full screen or so against an opponent, I just make sure to use either crouching heavy kick or universal overhead, because there's a chance they'll use the wrong kind of blocking against it.
Yep, and it's also worth noting that Artina does have anti-projectile tools, even if she doesn't have a projectile herself. That icicle will destroy projectiles. She has She has a stance that will take her up and over top of them, where she can get up on her staff.
She has the iframe.
I think. Sorry.
She has the iframe off of her other stance, I believe, as well.
Yep, she has iframes off
Yeah.
her other stance, which is a great defensive tool for her, and it goes into all of her Rekka follow-ups. So, I mean, I think, like, on the whole, when you look at Artina, you see all of these, like, she's able to deal with a lot of different play styles. She has great mix from great range. She's hard to hit, and she hits like a truck. So, it's all that combined, I think, plays into Artina being just at the top of this list.
Yeah, and I also,
Yeah.
I don't want to say, I don't want to discredit Warthog's ability, obviously, because I think you're a great player. But I also think some of her ease of access also helps, with her placement right now. I think if you come back in a year, she might be just a little bit farther down the list as other characters that might need a little bit more exploration, push up a bit on the tier list. That's just my thought right there. But yeah, so I think we all kind of agree she's really good. Not like oppressive by any means. She's just, I'd say if we're going to pick someone to be the best. Like Toby More Crazy mentions in chat, KDOK, amazing player from the Japanese community, has proven that Arctina can do some crazy stuff. So it's like, if they think that Arctina's top of the list, I tend to agree with them. So I think we're all, all pretty much in agreement there.
Yeah, I haven't really watched much footage of the Japanese scene.
Oh,
Oh, it's been amazing.
yeah,
It's been wild.
especially
watching
since the
that.
Steam release. The Steam release has really, I don't know what it is, but I guess that's just like that's gotten a lot of them into the game. So.
Yeah, I guess like I've seen the combo stuff on Twitter, but
Mhm.
no like tournaments or full matches or anything.
Wow, you definitely have to check out some of KDOK's streams. They've done some streams on YouTube with some of their friends, and it's it's great. Yeah.
Hey, Doc is very quickly figuring this game out.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna go and try to just pick from the other end of the list. Who do you guys think is like the worst character in this game? I mean, it's really hard to say just because of how unexplored so much of the cast is. But like,
Kurt's just hovering over Gigi.
who could it be?
Yeah,
Who could
right.
it be? No,
I don't
I
think
do not
she's the
think Gigi's
worst.
the worst. No, I do not think Gigi's the worst. I was gonna say Strike, but have y'all seen the new combos that the Japanese community have come up with in regards to just like really easy TODs with Strike?
No, I
Yeah.
haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's
I've
a little
seen
nutty
some of the
now.
deaths he has right now.
yeah. So
I
I
They're
also
think,
pretty good.
thought
I feel
Strike was
like-
the worst until like 3 days ago.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. I would
feel like
almost
maybe
say,
it's one of the
oh, go ahead.
maybe it's one of the grapplers.
Huh? Okay.
Or,
So
or,
you have
or
a
I don't
couple
know, I'm
options,
just used to
right?
Grapplers being bad. I was thinking like
We have Gamma Strike, Artina. Who else would we? Yeah, I think those are the grapplers.
well
You put the king in the bottom.
I mean, I was gonna put King Ro at the bottom. Yeah, that's who I would.
Well,
that's
well,
who I would
kinda
put.
nutty, but-
I mean, hold on a second. I don't mean like all of the grapplers. I just meant I think maybe one of them might be there.
Mm-hmm. What do
Like
you think?
it's hard to say. I'm just trying to think of like kits, but I was trying to think like, okay, who like lacks a certain tool, and I think MKL, you're the Octonia expert. Does she have good tools for like when people are trying to zone her out? Because I feel like she doesn't really have a projectile or armor the way Gamma does. So
Yeah, she struggles a little bit more than Gamma in terms of that kind of stuff, but the reward when she gets in is way higher. So
yeah,
I
it's
think
hard
that's
to
kind of
judge
why
with
that balances out.
She can also eat
but-
projectiles with her noodle.
But that's it. She can eat projectiles with her noodle. Yeah. I mean, if anything, I would say I haven't seen the new Strike stuff, but I was gonna say Strike and Row are probably at the bottom
Mhm.
of my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I guess let's do Row because I can't think of a counter argument for Row.
Well, the thing is, Mibiador was the counter argument for Ro, and then Matt changed Ro, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
I will say, as a Ro enthusiast, Matt changed the way that crouching light kick interacts with spin, but that doesn't mean that if you get spin, like I don't think you can combo from crouching light kick into spin, but you can combo out of spin into crouching light kick.
Mhm.
So you can do some other things. Like it's not a bad move by any means. It's just not the easiest, most spammable wipeout combo in the game. That also
Like it
can be
was.
confirmed off of his reversal and his teleport and all the other things. Yeah. So he's still a really good character, I think. But he doesn't.
Yeah,
he also
he-
doesn't have the crazy, the urchin stuff that he used to have. Like the Mibidor showed us that it was broken right off the bat, and then Matt
Mhm.
changed it. So I don't really know how to analyze the character at the moment, but I do know what they do have is good. It's just a question of like, I don't think you look at the character and you're like, okay, well, I want to sit back and I want to like keep people away. I want to frustrate them. I want to parry them when they come in. I agree to some extent, but I feel like his keep away may also just be a trap. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I can say that because his keep away, it does rely on the opponent being at a specific range too. It's not like the projectiles or the close range icicle or the big meaty disjoints where it's like they have to stand in the exact spot that your heavy icicle pillar is going to go, or it just whiffs out right.
Mm-hmm.
He's
So-
a little like a Dormammu type, where
Yeah.
if you know exactly what your stuff does and where to place it and it works, it works. If it doesn't, you're fighting an uphill battle.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as like having an entire stressful round of I need to make sure all of my stuff is where it needs to be, is it worth it compared to something else?
Yeah.
Like Artina don't have to worry about that. Artina's like I put an icicle out, 9 times out of 10 it's gonna work for me however it works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like some other characters have more traditional projectiles, like Dragos is just like whatever, I got my fish wall up, just throw it, it'll come back eventually.
Yeah.
So I feel like, King Ro being at the bottom, he could still be a good character. It just means like other people they do things better. So it
Yeah.
does make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like also important to consider a tier list that like just how easy they are to use comes up, and so I think when your zoning just requires knowledge of where the projectile goes in the first place,
Like he's got
then
that little overhead.
automatically raises the floor to do real well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got the overhead gimmick and all that. A lot of what his good stuff is, it's knowledge check stuff. So like it's good when people don't know about it, and then once they figure that out, now you've got to go back to working hard.
Yeah, like EX parry and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention one thing, which is y'all are talking about the pillar, but I don't actually think that eats projectiles at all. So if somebody throws a projectile and you read that projectile throw, you may hit them with the pillar, but you're still recovering into a projectile, right? So it's like it's not actually a projectile. It's not actually you kind of can only use it in matchups where an opponent doesn't have a projectile and also is across the screen from you. So it's not that you can't use it, but you're going to trade more often than not. And in those cases, that's like the best situation, because otherwise you just missed and you get a whatever. You don't actually get the trade. But
yeah, and I think the recent changes to Ro, which like reduced his ability to like do good wipeout combos, means that he's less able to actually position that stuff well. Where it used to be that like he got a guaranteed hard knockdown, so he could put himself in the right spot to be really annoying to you with the pillar and with the urchins.
Yeah.
But without that, it's like he can't do what he needs to do anywhere near as well, right? Like on all fronts there.
Or at least
I
as
think that's
reliably,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so easy to get a wipeout from that combo, and you could do it from anything. And yeah, I think reducing the opportunity for him to get an Oki situation, was the better situation, just because like that was ridiculous. But also, I don't think they improved his the actual things he gets off of the Oki to compensate. So
exactly.
All right, I think that's a good point to branch off. Why don't we start off with a fan favorite? Where do you guys think Gamma's going to be? Where do you folks put Gamma?
Gamma.
I want to hear Flynn's thoughts on this.
Yeah,
I think he's like a C maybe.
Okay.
I think like he might have tools to get around things, but I think it's very hard. Yeah,
especially without that armor.
I mean, yeah, like the armor being kind of nerfed, like really, it made it a lot harder. I'm not gonna lie, when I first picked him up, he was brain dead sometimes. Like it was just like whatever, armor up, go for a grab.
Yeah.
So the changes needed to be made. I just feel like maybe they overreacted a bit. Like he can get in on things, and then you can get your grabs and all of that, but if you don't, you're dead.
And
like somebody
the
walking
supers
backwards
are so hard to
and
combo together.
fireballs. Yeah, like his supers don't all link together properly. Sometimes, like the pirouette kick or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That will just miss sometimes or pop people in the wrong direction. And yeah, you have to be real like, I want to cash in damage, I need to spend meter with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you messed up on spending that meter, I got 1 bar left, what am I going to get out of it now? I got to start over.
I will say though, like the Gamma can be really scary when they do get their game plan started. Like certain matchups, I'm sure Gamma's just gonna suffer, right? Angelique, like Bolt, anything like that. But in a matchup where they can just lock down their opponent and set up wipeouts into mix-ups, it's gonna be crazy, So I think this is one of those characters that, given time, they're gonna raise whatever in the tier list.
Yeah, they're gonna float to the top.
Hey, I'm really avoiding it. I'm really avoiding it. Ugh.
It does sort of seem to be the curse of grapplers that a lot of them just fall into that category of, if they can do what they want to, they're really good, but as a whole, they're bad because they have trouble doing that.
Well, yeah, that's by design, though, because then when you get that one grab, you feel great. If I was just getting grabs for free, they would have to not do any damage to be fair, and then the grab does not hype. Like, it makes sense.
Yep. Did we ever get our damage buff on command grabs?
I think
did we?
We got it on Arctinus.
Right?
Well, that's a hit grab, but I don't know.
Because we've had this conversation before where it's like the command grab characters... Especially
also, sorry. Used to have an issue where her supers didn't link up properly. Like her big giant Rekka super in the corner would just fail. I think there was one that just didn't work on Gamma outright. So I'm hoping Gamma's next in line for like
those quality of life
command
buffs.
grab buffs and supers working together.
Because
Yeah, the thing
we've talked
about-
about it before that command grab supers basically do the same damage as other types of supers, but they're largely not comboable. So it's like you don't get anywhere near as big of a reward off of them.
Yeah.
So we talked about maybe getting a damage boost to them, and I think that would change things for Gambit just to make it more of a threat when he does get the right read.
No, I totally agree. I think all command grabs need to be buffed in this game if they haven't already. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but all right, so that's a good place to start off. I mean, I think I generally agree. I might put Gamma at like bottom of B, but I think top of C is a great place to start.
Well, yeah, as we start adding people, we'll start floating things around.
Of course,
but,
of course.
Yeah.
Basically, the thing with Gamma is if it works, it works. If it doesn't, you die.
Yeah.
So when you've got like people like Drakos, or I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, or someone like that, or Angelique, and they're running their show, Arctina pressing buttons, you're just blocking it. Gamma's screwed. When Gamma's doing that to them and they don't have a chance to back up a little bit and set up, then great. But then you make that one thing, you have like an execution error, or they get a good button out or something,
Or the
knock you
guard
back.
pop. Yeah.
Yeah, it starts over again. Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we can. Let's see if we can sort of do like 1-1. What do you guys think Bolt's gonna be? And I'm just gonna put him at A. I'm kidding. Mibidor, if you're watching this, I'm kidding. Because obviously, Mibidor plays Bolt, and Mibidor is probably one of the best players in the U.S. And so they've subsequently had Bolt nerfed repeatedly. One thing we forgot to mention about Ro is that Ro actually is one of the last characters in the game that still has a ground bounce off of a jumping normal. Bolt used to have this, which just made them brain dead easy to combo, off of anything.
Whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah. So removing that, I think Bolt now becomes a little bit better or a little bit worse than they used to be. They also have some changes to their fireballs and their combos, and so I don't want to just preempt it by saying they're really, really good, but I do think they are a solid move list, regardless, right?
They're a very good dial function.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit of spice.
I mean, it's like so soon with all the nerfs, I would really hesitate to call Bolt bad, just because in the previous community Kumite, 2 of the top 3 were Bolts. And then, how did Bolt do in a SawCon? I only just started watching the VOD for that right before this started.
So, we didn't do a bracket at SawCon. We did like a casual get together. So, yeah, we weren't really looking at that too much, if that makes sense.
I don't think I saw Bolt that often either, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they're pretty good, but once again, I think it's one of those situations of they were S tier and now they're probably low A or B.
Yeah, I'd personally have Bolt in A tier, if only because of their archetype. I mean, they are Guile meets Blanca, and that is a poisonous combination.
I mean, it's like for example, if you just try to walk Bolt into the corner as he walks back and throws projectiles, he can just jump up and then Blanca ball to the other end of the screen.
Yeah, E2K has shown a lot of really patient play with Bolt in the past and shown how strong it can really be. So they can be that wall or they can be that mix-up demon. I think with the nerfs they're down out of S tier, which I would have had them at before, but I'd put them fairly solidly in A.
Okay, I can agree
with that. Bolt too is that they can shift momentum on the fly. So you'd see a lot, and I don't think Mib does this as much, but E2K will wait and be patient and hang out all day. Time is on their side, they're chipping you out, you're having trouble getting over these things. They get all that meter, they can just dump all of that at once and do a significant amount of damage, back up while you're trying to get up off the ground, do it again. And that's this is a game that rewards spending meter. That's how you get the pop gems. So the game's mechanics work really well in Bolt's favor with the way he's supposed to play.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, and also when discussing the metagame, I think it does really help that we have at least 2 notable players with distinct play styles.
Exactly, yeah. Two distinct play styles and approaches to the character.
You could literally play it one way. You have all the meter now. Time to go in and do something. Just switch back and forth. Don't let them get your rhythm down.
Yeah, I mean, I think another thing to keep in mind is the universal actions too, right? That kind of whether your universal action is really useful can help a character, but I don't think it's ever going to hinder a character. I don't think bolts are all that interesting. Like, they're just not that good. But that being said, I think if they get any more changes to them, which I hear Matt, listening to this video and being like, fine, I'll change it. But I think if they get any more changes to their unique skills, that'll really help Bolt in general, just making them a little bit more fleshed out. All right, so let's jump over to the next character. Let's go over to Drargos, just because I think Drargos is an interesting character. One of those ones that nobody really touched for a while, and then they got a assist, and then they got a fish.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys think? I mean, I personally, I'm just gonna say I think Drargos is really good. I think Drargos is probably up in A tier, but I don't know.
Way higher than that.
Oh, really? Okay, go ahead.
I think he's flat out broken.
Oh,
I think you have Vega, who has a projectile. Plus, they can make the stage smaller. Plus, they have that huge anti-air, the big new fishbone thing.
Yep.
Plus, their projectile bounces back, so it's like, whatever, just throw it, start mixing up, who cares? I don't really see any negatives. They have the instant air, the dive kick, like that instant overhead thing they could do, like...
A lot of the normals leave them aerial, too, so it's like,
yes,
you can get some crazy mix-ups.
Yeah, and a lot of... Oh, sorry, I was going to say, and it's like, I think, and just the bouncy projectile in general, even when it's like, you're not up against it, that can even be worse, because then the reflected projectile can bounce back from the other end of the screen and then interrupt you in the middle of an attack.
Yeah, like we've seen that happen so many times where someone finally got over that and they were ready to start putting pain on him, and then whoa, Fireball came back, we forgot it was there.
Yep. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah, he's got like way too many good things that all just kind of help each other out.
And he was probably up there before he got the fish, right?
Yeah.
And yes, and then the fish is also really good.
Yeah, now he's got to stand.
I think Dragos is a little awkward as a character, in part because a lot of his moves pop him up and make him airborne, and like that kind of stuff is a little bit weird. But once you get the flow of the character, I think as Flynn points out, it super good. Like the whole idea, Vega with the fireball that can make the stage a quarter of the size.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
That is terrifying.
And that wall is permanent unless you deactivate it.
It is.
If you're cornered and you go forget it, we're playing in a vertical pillar now, put the wall up right behind them. They're stuck in the corner with you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's your whole round.
It's like Marvel Infinite with the box, except that's forever
it's
now.
It's like a permanent box that doesn't cost resources.
Yep.
Yeah. Although I am curious, do grapplers sort of have an easier time with that, since you don't want them to be closer to you? So like, Dragos doesn't want to box them in.
I'm not sure. I've noticed like a lot when I was kind of dealing, like when it happened to me, I was just eating dive kicks.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not too sure. I could also just be a bad player.
Yeah, I mean, the bright side is if you do get the hit as a grappler, it's like all optimal all the time.
Oh yeah, there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah.
Certainly. All right. Speaking of, go ahead, Warhawk.
Oh no, never mind. I wasn't gonna.
All right. Well,
skip that.
Let's jump into some personal stuff. Tear me a new one, guys. What do you think about Gigi? I think they're at top of A.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. I think Gigi feels pretty solid right now. Like the lasers are nice and fast, and again she can hit low, though no overhead. So like if you block low at a distance, you are safe from both lasers. But just having to keep an eye out for an from a low from like full screen is a pretty good form of pressure in itself.
Not to mention that confirming into the EX laser into the wall bounce super into whatever she wants.
Yep.
Yeah, those are all crazy.
Yeah, her max screen full screen confirms. She's got a Shoto crouch medium kick that also goes into like a lunge punch. Right, that is like super good and keeps you at super good position.
It's basically donkey kick, but like way better.
Way better.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a donkey kick that moves forwards.
Yeah.
It is way more safe.
She is such an impressive character. She also has really strong defensive tools. Like she has one of the best reversals in the game, if you ask me. And then it also puts her in a primo position for pop cancel into massive damage if it lands. Yeah. So I think she's definitely up there.
Easy combos off of throws, like all sorts of wacky shit.
Oh yeah, some of the best throws in the game. For a while, she was the best grappler just because she had like an extra character length to her normal throw range. But I also think Eska. Yeah, I also think Eska Flash and her little like micro hop are two pretty dang good unique abilities now that they've been changed a bit. Eska Flash, now that it has a hitbox, is a really good anti-air. It starts up really quick. It's just, you know, it's just really low committal. And now also when it hits, it not only obscures your opponent's screen, but it removes their ability to collect pop gems, or excuse me, bubble meter, whatever.
Yeah,
the little meters.
Yeah,
not pop gems,
meter
but
bubbles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the ability to just shut that down is very good with how meter focused this game is.
Absolutely. That's
Kind of
something that I
another
haven't
point
really thought of
for
enough.
Some of the less mobile characters, it's not like you can just pop a bunch of bubbles out, backdash, grab them, and go back to what you're doing. You have to make a conscious decision. Do I need the meter, or do I need to stay on them?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's kind of an important thing to think. I completely forgot the bubbles were in the game until you said that.
Well, see, that's interesting because this is a good transition. Strike has a unique ability where he just absorbs all the bubbles on the screen, which as a grappler is pretty dang good because you don't want to back up. What do you guys think of the new Strike? We talked earlier about them having some really insane combos. I think those are going to get toned down a bit. But outside of that, they're also kind of the brawler grappler. They're not so much a brawler, but it's not so much a grappler. They're a little bit in between.
Yeah, I haven't really had much Strike experience against humans, just some of the AI matches in arcade. So I don't really have much experience to draw on here fighting against him.
I mean,
stuff we've seen recently put them above Gamma. I think B is a nice spot for them personally.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
I feel like that makes sense because I mean, you know, combos are very important, but
well, even outside of a combo,
be all
right?
end all of the character.
Yeah, well, but let's look at the changes outside of a combo too, right? He now has 2-hit projectiles, which is a rarity in this game. Very, very useful. He now has invisibility, just rampant. He can just mix you up. Lots of cool tools. He can combo into his grabs, which is, you know, some of his grabs, which is great. So yeah, I mean, I think the new changes really bump him up from butt tier to a little bit better tier. But yeah, I'd go with B.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, like I had him pegged in D tier personally, but I had actually not considered the most recent changes, and I have not seen the stuff that the Japanese community has been developing. So I'm gonna take your word on this one.
Yeah,
and be like, there's some more sauce to Strike than I've given him credit for.
Let's just say EX Fireball, you can confirm mid-screen and just keep doing it. Yeah, you can keep doing that into the double hit Fireball into, yeah, it's a loop essentially, and it builds enough. It's either meter positive or meter, you know,
Neutral.
just
Neutral,
enough.
basically,
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's jump off. Oh, go ahead, Warhawk.
Oh, well, I was just, you know, just doing like an okay, but
Okay.
I was thinking since we're talking about the characters that have unique energy bubble interactions, how about Neko?
Oh, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Since I believe he can poison them.
That used to be Drargos' ability. I don't know.
Oh, right.
I don't know if they can. Yeah, I don't know if anybody can do that now.
Okay, never mind then.
But no,
That
we can still talk
transition
about
doesn't work.
we can still talk about Neko though. I think Neko's pretty good. I would put Neko in A tier, maybe a little bit above or behind Bolt. One of those two.
Yeah, the poison gimmick is pretty good.
Absolutely.
Poison is definitely nice. I think Neko is another character that has. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'd probably peg him into B tier, if only because a lot of the things that he does in terms of him being a Rekka character with some like built-in mix-up in his supers and stuff like that. There are other characters that do that better, if you ask me, like Arctina. And just, I don't know, like the risk reward of the poison mechanic is, I think, is skewed outside of his favor.
I will
I
say,
agree with that.
one thing I saw recently was I forget, was it Kyle or sorry, Style Katarn? No, it wasn't Style Katarn. It was Extra. Extra was showing me. Correct me if I'm wrong. I apologize if that's not the right name. But they were showing me with Nako that you can do like the basic Rekka combo, and you have enough time to do uppercut after the Rekka, like the final hit of the Rekka, so you get a full wipeout just off of that.
Oh, that is very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So you basically just get Rekka into uppercut as a wipeout combo, and that's foundation for a great character. Yeah, foundation for a great character.
That could swing it for Neko if they're able to get a mix-up game going off of their wipeouts and get the poison. Then they're able to like, okay, look, you can't do anything on your wake up. You got to hold that. You got to hold my block, and then then that poison becomes more effective. I just haven't seen that borne out yet. So
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you.
A lot of their thing too, like I was saying before about knowledge checks, they are full of that too. They have the mix-ups. If you know what the mix-ups are, like people aren't getting caught by that super crossing up anymore as much.
Yeah.
Once you start like kind of understanding of that, it becomes easier to block that. And then what ends up, the reason it works for him though is if you're poisoned, you're panicking. You don't want that. You want to hit him, make the poison go away. So you're not thinking clearly. But when he runs up against one of those people that they just have all of the chill mode activated, they know what's going to happen when it's happening. All of the stuff that makes him special doesn't really help him anymore.
I do want to mention too that they have the only OTG in the game, which is their unique skill. It only checks if the opponent is near you, and it poisons them. So if they're on the ground, it's still near you, and you can poison them even when they're supposedly safe.
Yeah, you wipe out into the poisoning them while they're on the ground, and then
Yep.
It's fudged.
But if they stand up, they block the mix-up properly. They jab you. The poison's gone.
Yeah,
you're back to square zero.
Yeah.
Truth.
It's just square zero.
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's
go
ahead.
So it's basically that once you know what to do, you can pretty easily clip his legs.
Yep.
Yeah, like his whole game plan stops working really.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go with Atlas, because I think Atlas is one of those characters that I don't know if you folks have a lot to focus on, but I definitely have something to say. So, what do you think?
Yeah, most of my experience with Atlas comes from that tournament where you played as him for most of it with the explicit purpose of getting him nerfed.
Yeah. Well, thankfully they have now changed them. So, just to go over quickly some of the changes. So they now have a new unique skill, because the beam can only be placed in the middle of the screen, which means that they don't need both of their unique skills related to the beam. The second unique skill is kind of like it's like a command dash that you can cancel into any of their punches. So it's a pretty good move. I don't know if it goes through projectiles, but it looks like it moves you under most of them. So that's pretty good. And they also get, Matt didn't change the damage of the beam super, but now it costs 1 meter less. So consider that as you go into the game with Atlas. At least that's my understanding. You can do the beam super as long as you have the regular beam on the screen. There's no more like putting the EX beam on the screen. I don't think. I think it's just regular beam.
Using another one.
Yeah, okay. I think it's just you just have the beam and then you can explode it for 1 meter, but it still does 2 meters worth of damage. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about it, but I would honestly put him somewhere middle or bottom of B. They probably have some of the best uppercut game in the game. Just so much combo potential. They're really safe. They're really punishable. They have really good range. Like I would consider Atlas kind of like Ken, right? Not the best projectile game, although they do have a projectile that crosses most of the screen. But they have just some of the best like get-in tools, some of the best uppercuts. And now, if you have the opponent stand in the healing beam for, I think, 60 frames or whatever, you now gain an armor buff. So Atlas has armor. I don't know how to feel about that, but yeah. We haven't really explored it too much, but I think that question alone puts him in B tier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty fair.
Yeah, I really wish we had Alan Chan as voice actor, or some other people here have been playing him more, because they could probably add a lot more nuance to this.
Certainly. Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be the case with this kind of conversation, just because the game is so fresh, right? Not everybody has really delved into every character, so
Yeah, this isn't an end-all, here's what it is tier list. This is just the thoughts of the people that have been playing it right now, a couple
Certainly.
of us.
Yeah. And
It's
if
a good
anybody has any
guideline.
other
I
ideas,
know.
let
It's
us know.
just, I think, I just think there is some value in like making notes of like which parts we haven't explored yet, because I'm personally thinking like, okay, maybe I should pick up one of the unexplored characters just so we can get that data down.
Yeah. No, I think that's
Well,
important.
that's what happened with King Ro, where like we were talking about that in the Discord, and I'm sitting there saying, man, I don't see much use for the urchin for King Ro. There's
Yep.
all these problems with him. And then it was Mib, right?
Mibidor, yeah.
Yeah.
Mib went and picked up King Ro and was like, I will just prove you all wrong. And then
they did.
Right, so, and they
We had to
and
nerf
they
him
did.
the next day.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I want this conversation to do is to encourage people to look at C and D tier and prove that they're not C and D tier.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think, it's just worth noting like who we put in D tier because we've played them and who we put in D tier because we played against them once and they lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is week 1 of Steam, so we're going to start seeing so many radical things. This is going to shift.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So, Mr. MKL, do you want to start us off with where you think Octonia goes? I'm going to just put her in B just for safety's sake, but you let me know.
I mean, I would put her solidly in A tier. And I know this might be a little controversial. A lot of people used to say that Octonia was like C or D tier. But I honestly believe that she's up in A tier. Like when I look at S and A tier right now, where I'm like, those are the 4 characters that I have to fight with Octonia to get to grand finals in a tournament.
Yeah. But you still get to grand finals in the tournament, so.
Right, exactly. And I can get there and I can win it, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah.
I would say she's solidly in A tier. She
lot of
struggles
sense.
with a lot of that stuff, but it's one of those things. She's one of those characters that has really good mix-up, is really good mid-range, and is super good close-up. And it's like, she has a second chance if you hit her, but if she touches you, you're probably
dead. She has a gun. Like, she just came with a gun.
Got 2 guns.
Right?
Well, more like 8, but yeah.
There were so there was a reason I drugged out just instantly dying the moment I get hit by an Octonia with full meter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although when I played around it for a bit, I did notice that those explosive combos actually do require a lot of precision to pull off.
Oh, yeah.
They're not easy, for sure.
Yeah.
You have to find that rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something you have to make a concentrated effort to learn instead of just pressing the buttons, which makes getting blown up by it feel a bit better for me now.
I will say one of the strengths of Octonia is the way that her combos work is she has a lot of side switches. So she's generally meter positive in most of what she does, which gives her so much opportunity. Like when she gets 1 bar, she can do 80 to 100% depending on how optimal you're being. So it's just one of those things where I think some characters have to build up to 2 bars and 2 pop gems before they really have that explosive damage.
Yeah.
But Octonia gets there way sooner just because she builds the meter mid combo.
And that's something that we really need to focus on too, is like having the bubbles adds another layer of meter potential, right? So crossing yourself up, side switching, whatever you want to call it, is a great way to help differentiate you at the top tiers. Just saying like, okay, yeah, sure, you can do that with 2 meters, but I can do it with 1, or you know what I mean? Like I can just blow you up because I keep regaining all this meter by switching sides. So I'm trying to think of other characters that do that really well. I mean, I know Octonia does. Drargos has proven to be able to do that fairly well. So I'm pretty sure Strike can do it at this point, just with his crazy combo potential. But yeah, that kind of thing can really make you stand out.
Yeah. On the subject of Arctina being as high as she is, I have also had that where like, with like certain combos, I do have time to just like freely go, oh, let me just drop back here and pick up these bubbles, and then I can mix up you if you try to mess with me, so I just get the bubbles.
Yeah, and you're right, like Arctina with the ability to back off and say, whatever, I'm going to put up an icicle and then I'm going to stick out some of my spear, and you come to me, or hop up on her spear to do her like perch stance, right? And it's like play the come to me game. She can do that and build those resources and still be in a very, very strong position. It's one of the things that I think lends her to be so high on the list.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, I'll agree with you there, Mr. MKL. I don't think anybody here can argue with you in regards to her placement just because of your experience. But I do think I'd put her at like the bottom of A, just because, as you say, you can definitely beat all these characters, but you might struggle a little bit more than like an Arctina or some of the other characters we're gonna get to in a second.
Yeah, and worth noting, I would say the reason I think Gamma and Octonia are actually pretty similar in in terms of what they do and the kind of characters they are, but the big difference being that Octonia has, I think, a better chance of getting in ultimately. Right, it's like she seems to be able to do the walk and block, or
just throwing noodle,
get through the projectiles,
she can be
throwing
positive,
noodle,
just doing that,
right, and then getting that grab through the fireballs and the keep away game becomes super important. I think she's better equipped to deal with that, and that's why there's that discrepancy between those two characters.
And it's not the biggest discrepancy either, right? Like if she's at the bottom of A and Gamma's at the top of C, that's a tier away, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, okay, so let's save the best for last. Or no, I'm kidding, but let's go on to Odon. I mean, I think, just to start us off, I think Odon is really good. I think Odon is probably in the A tier competition. I don't know where to put them. I'm just going to put them just ahead of Octonia, but I genuinely think Odon is a force that requires respect and requires some kind of game plan going in. Because if you are going to try to, for example, rely on, if you're an Arctina player and you're going to rely on that super, what if they have a statue up and you push them into the statue and then whoops, they just fall out of your combo and they get a full punish for no meter.
Yeah.
Right? Like Odon's statue is such a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually something I've noticed, that our top section of the roster contains all the people who can put objects on the screen, like the icicle, the wall, the statue.
Bolts, really slow projectiles.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. So it's like the people who can contribute to the geometry of the stage in some way, shape it. I think that's just a fundamentally very good tool.
Interesting. I wonder how that would change if Rose Pillar was able to do something to that effect, or if the Urchin lent itself more to that, how that would change their placement in the tier list.
I do wish that Pillar interacted with projectiles. It should just kill, beat any projectile that's coming up, because it's a giant pillar. You meant to hit the opponent, but you should clear the projectile on the screen too if you can. If you don't hit it, sure, but most of the time you're going to, right?
Yeah, and it's such a wide thing too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and in terms of Odon, the fastest super in the game, right? Superman Punch, no matter what you're doing across the screen, he's going to hit you. Even if it's a projectile, he'll often either trade or just move through the projectile and hit you anyway. Sorry, my hitbox is not there anymore. That's just how it is.
Oh yeah, no, he's a boxer with Vega speed.
Yeah, it's
that bionic arm.
Yeah, exactly.
With bionic arm.
It's not fully armored or anything, but it doesn't need to when the hurtbox isn't anywhere near your hitbox. So
I love these the image of some of these amalgamations of characters that we're referencing. I can just picture Spencer with a Vega claw and then Balrog's head.
Yep.
I mean, this is what Matt gives us.
Yeah,
Matt's
right.
A madman.
Matt is a madman. Help us, save us. And speaking of Matt being a madman, let's just wrap this up with someone who I think is the best character in the game. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I think Angelique is the best character in the game. Maybe just below Arctina, maybe definitely, but I don't know. We'll see. What do you guys think?
I'd say I honestly think Angelique is either right below Arctina or right above Ro, but I haven't figured it out.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't feel confident saying anything about Angelique in either way, because I just feel like I don't know enough about her. She's one of the characters I'm considering picking up just so somebody can figure out what she does.
I mean,
she's good at it.
She has a
super wild amount of potential.
A wild
card.
Yeah,
I do feel like she might have somewhat of a learning curve just with the big number of projectiles she has and needing to cycle through them. But I feel like she has a solid enough kit without having to do that cycling.
I was gonna say, I don't mean to poo-poo Matt's game design at all, because I think it is genius. But as a player of Angelique, I do not care about the cycling projectiles. Like I'm
I was
just,
just gonna
I
say,
don't
oh,
give a shit. I don't give a
I
rat's
don't even know what they
ass.
do.
No, like I don't care. I'm not going to at all once ever use that ability to change my projectile because that takes time. And in the matchup, I want to put a thing on the screen. Like, do I care what the thing is? No, I want to put the thing on the screen.
I just want it out there while I'm doing jumping heavy.
Exactly. Like I'm looking for an assist. I don't care what that assist is. So the original design forced you to change a bit more, and I don't think the new one does so much. You obviously have to when you super, but
yeah, I also feel like your supers seem to be pretty good at chip damage, at least. Like the one where she just dumps all of her magic balls on you.
She can do 33% chip damage with all 3 meter. Well, all 3 super. Three supers. Exactly.
I mean, I think I really liked the way Angelique's fireball cycling used to work, where you would throw one of the strengths of like heavy strength would move it forward in the rotation and light would move it back. I really loved that because I think the idea of a character that is like, okay, I'm going to be the slow, patient, like control character. And then I'm managing my rotation of fireballs and like the kinds of assists I get from them. I thought that was super cool and engaging. And then like also has a lot of great potential for fucking like some devastating set play and stuff.
For sure. Yeah, no, I thought that was so cool. And now the new change, I just don't care anymore. Like I don't care what fireball.
Yeah, where I'm just like, I don't care what I'm on. That's exactly it.
I'm gonna super and it's gonna change it. So it's like I don't, and there's no benefit to. There's just no benefit to doing the stance because you're standing there and not doing anything. So
I wouldn't mind if the super still like actually randomized what fireball you ended up on if you still controlled it with the regular fireballs by doing heavy or light attack. I think I would be fine with that.
Yeah, I was so impressed with that design of the cycling between the two, light and heavy, going different directions, that I'm a little disappointed with the new mode, but I want to see what happens, and that doesn't mean she's not a good character. She has more uppercuts than anyone in the game. And she's a keep away character.
Like 9 different drills.
Cross-ups in the air.
Yeah.
Like, she won't even know what side she's landing on.
Yeah, that one super where we have to keep pressing and move in the different directions. It's very versatile, but it keeps messing me up as a player trying to use it. But I feel like that's either going to turn out to be pointless or it breaks something.
I think it breaks something in terms of it's gonna be mix-up heaven.
So even not using that thing, even if you don't ever master that, throwing a projectile out, jumping heavy kick into what is it, quarter circle forward and light kick, that weird up and down, the swoop.
Yep.
That's cross up. What side is she landing on?
Yep.
You know, is she gonna hit you? Or are you gonna block the wrong way? Or is she gonna land and just throw you? Like, what is she doing?
And I think that causes a ground bounce on hit. That one in particular.
That one thing alone is ridiculously useful before you even put all of her other stuff to it.
Yeah.
I think the thing with her, like what we're saying about how, like I'm saying about that, and you're saying about like cycling projectiles, her and Dragos have like a thing where it's almost like they have 2 character archetypes in one body. So it's like one of them might not be as effective as the other, and then you just use the other.
Yep.
Like you could take that whole projectile cycling thing and stick down on a completely different character, like a new character, and make it work the way it wants to work, and you still have Angelique being ridiculous with her stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's
absolutely.
true.
Like the drill mix-up style and the projectile keep-away style, those could definitely be their own individual archetypes. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So even if you take out the stuff that doesn't work, like, oh man, I wish the projectile cycling, yada yada, you still have a ridiculous character. It's just you have tools you don't need to use or you don't want to use.
And I think Matt's actually kind of doing that design-wise going forward. Like, there are so many things that have been removed from this game already that are cool that, like, need to be added back in. Even if it's just a different character, right? Like Dragos' ability to poison the bubbles.
I
got
want
removed,
a poison
but
bubble
like
ability.
that needs to be in the game. So we'll see.
Legit, like it's really funny. Like the reason I started playing Angelique a little while back was because of the cycling projectiles. I just found that super engaging.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing I thought about Dragos was the poison ability, and it was one of my favorite things because it was the first ability that I was like, oh, okay, I get the practical application for this.
And it just changes the game, right? You're not just turning off their meter. You're also like it's positional, denial. It's
It's
Yeah,
like the
so
inverse of the Neko poison, where it's like they poison you, so it changes your playstyle. This poisons the environment, so it changes your playstyle in a different way.
Yeah, no, it was really
I
cool.
love
and I hope
that.
they bring that back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so let's see. What are the common themes we can look at the upper end of the tier
Sure.
list? I think looking at our S characters,
Good projectiles?
yeah, not necessarily projectiles in Artina's case, but like very
No,
good
but still.
selling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she has the pillar, and she has some of the best pokes in the game, and then
Yeah.
obviously like projectile queen. Gigi, I'm not going to say has like the best projectiles, but probably the best projectile super. One of the best projectile supers.
One of the best, allows for one of the best full screen confirms in the game.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It just like you do full beam into full punch into anything you want, and that's going to be 60% or more.
Well, like, what was that thing you did at Act 4? Was you jumped up, shot the laser down,
Yep.
they blocked it, you waited, you just did it again and again, filling space, and then when it finally hit, you just canceled the super, got a full combo out of it?
Yeah, yeah. You can do the jumping beam into dive kick super, and that's just rude as heck. Not a lot of people
And you could
expect
just,
that.
even if they block it or avoid it, it's still
Yep.
something taking up space. You could just sit and do that a couple times until it hit.
Yeah, and if you don't have, if you have more meter, you know, let's say they block the dive kick, whoops, they try to punish that, you just go straight into the punch and you get the full combo. So yeah, but I mean, Dargros as well, Bolt, lots of projectiles. The only one in the top that doesn't have a projectile is Odon, but he himself is a projectile, and he has, oh no, he has a projectile. You're right, he has the
Yeah, the
best
Marvel
projectile in the
builder
game because
has
the
the- yeah.
statue. Yeah. Oh man.
Which
Yeah.
legit, if the statue change hadn't happened for Odon, I think
He would have
they'd
been the
be up
best
in S
keep-
tier as well.
Yeah. No, if the statue hadn't changed, this game would be unplayable because I would be playing Odon. Just doing statue break statue, statue break statue.
Oh man, revert the
Yeah.
row and the Odon changes, and it's just Merfight is row versus Odon.
Yes.
Blocks
yes.
versus Urchins.
So that's another interesting point of this discussion is we're kind of going through the history of the patch notes too, because you're right. If Mibiador hadn't discovered row, and you know we hadn't changed statue, those would be the best keep away tools in the game.
Mhm.
Oh man. Well, I really. Oh, go ahead, Warhawk.
Oh, I was gonna say, do we want to talk about? No, I'll let you do your point first.
Oh no, go ahead. I mean, there's other things to
I
analyze
was
here.
gonna say, do we want to consider like how to maybe like bring up the bottom tiers or lower the top tiers? Like,
Oh sure, yeah, I think that's
what
a good
some
point.
good buffs or nerfs we think would look like? Because
Yeah, Go
as
ahead.
Arctina, man, it's interesting to think of like. I'm not quite sure what you could do to her aside from just lowering her damage output significantly, because I feel like her kit itself is just fundamentally solid. that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
the only other change I can think of is that maybe you just don't let her jump after the Rekka super, which would cut off a lot of combo routes, but
I don't think
I'm kind
that's
of
an
against
issue.
that just because it doesn't feel good. You know, it kind of feels like, oh, I'm losing a lot of freedom. Well,
Yeah.
And you'd also be
losing the extra,
patching.
like, okay, that's fair.
You'd also be patching an issue that could just be so easily like, okay, let's say you can't jump immediately after the Rekka super. You know what you can do? You can do an icicle, and from that icicle you can jump. So it does. It's not going to solve anything. What
The icicle's what we gotta look at.
I would say, yeah, I would say if we changed, or if I changed anything, I would change the icicle. But I don't even know if I would nerf it. I think I would make it better. Like, I actually think Arctina, in my opinion, I think she's where everyone should be. She has a lot of tools. She has a lot of damage. She has a lot of payoff for what she's doing. Like, there's a lot of issues in this game where you're doing a whole lot of nothing, right? Like, just not a lot of payoff for what you're doing. We just talked about that with Angelique. She, like, you can go through this whole game of switching her projectiles, but, like, what are you actually gaining? Whereas Arctina, she just does her thing, and I think that's where most of the characters want to be. So if I was going to change anything, I would probably change the icicle, and that would change the matchups where she's oppressive. But I wouldn't necessarily make it worse either. I would make it like better at dealing with projectiles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Less of
I
a
wouldn't make it-
Oki tool and more of a shield.
Yeah, I wouldn't make it worse. I would make it less of a Swiss Army knife, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it does
Yeah, I could see that. Just speccing it more in certain uses.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I'd rather, instead of things getting nerfed, I'd like other people to get buffed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, how would we bring Ro out of D tier?
Easiest change.
Give 'em a
Okay.
gun.
so what Matt did to change Ro was they made it so that when Ro uses the urchin and it goes to attack the bubble, it gets rid of the bubble. I'd say give the bubble a duration, however long it lasts, and the Urchin doesn't eat it. So you can have that bubble out, and for that amount of time, you have control of the screen. You get the Urchin spike, and like the opponent has to hold that.
Yeah. And
that'd be great. Especially because then you could, I don't know, would Urchin into teleport even be something you'd want to do?
Maybe, but that's something you can explore now that like Urchin doesn't just eat the bubble, right?
Yeah.
You actually get to combine the two abilities instead of one. Yeah. So.
And I think that gives Matt, or the developer, for anyone who doesn't know, Mattrified, the ability to tweak not only the length of the bubble duration, but the like length of cooldown. You could add a cooldown to it so that it doesn't get spammed, right? And so playing with those two variables means like Ro gets to do the thing, but it's not oppressive all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like the issue was that Ro could do it forever, and it was just how you couldn't do anything about it, or the things you could do were so minute and difficult to pull off. Yeah. I think let him have his fun. Just don't let it be crazy.
I compared him to Dormammu from Marvel before. Dormammu's entire gimmick is that he can charge his hands. So his whole game plan is you're trying to buy time against people that can try jump and dash and teleport and full screen beams and all that garbage, which he fundamentally can't do. He's about put a thing in a spot and make sure it's the right spot.
Yeah.
Buy yourself time to charge your hands, and then when you pop that, you get something really stupid. And then that's when you can start and then, set up Oki, charge your hands again, like with the wipeout system.
Yeah.
So I think giving him maybe not so much messing with like making things on a cooldown, but you have to buy time to build up to get a thing.
I like that.
Might be interesting with him. Like maybe the bubbles are the thing we're talking about, right? So maybe the bubble gets better the more of a thing you have done. Like a taunt or a charge, or if I have so many urchins out, now the bubble is better kind of thing.
I mean, that is actually where the swapping the type for Angelique could be applied, where it's like you apply it 2 or 3 times and it'll change, like it'll layer it up, right? Like with Dormammu, it's you have a spell in each hand, and depending on the combination, then you get a different attack.
Precisely.
Right? So yeah, doing something like that where you're calling the bubbles and it's getting you a combination or a certain color, and then that'll do a certain type of attack or have it empower to a certain degree.
Yeah, or like Doctor Strange has a similar thing, but he puts glyphs on the screen. So it's simply as I'm moving around and I'm playing my footsies or I'm playing my mid-range and I'm putting things where they need to be, that's giving me energy. So maybe the other player now has to decide, do I want to just rush down Odon, or do I want to go destroy that thing so that his stuff stops working so well? So there are multiple routes for that, but seeing
absolutely.
something like that in place would help him a lot, and it would make him really fun.
What do you folks think about the and help me out here if this is already a feature? I feel like a dum, but does the Urchin eat bubbles? Like not the bubble he places on the screen, but the meter bubbles?
I don't know.
Like
I'm not
if
sure,
the Urchin
actually.
passes through meter bubbles, can he collect them? Because if that's not the case, that should be the case. That'd be really dope.
That would be good too. Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting little change that you'd be able to add to it.
Yeah.
I
What about
want to
Gamma?
say something. I think
Oh, go ahead.
some of the things that are gonna have to change about the characters, I think might revolve around their special ability. Like Ro's special ability was really good, and then it was heavily nerfed, and now look where he is. I think similar thing happened to Gamma, where it's like the his ability was the armor, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
armor's
like,
gone
it
through
would
a
just,
lot
like-
of changes.
that's-
I've lost track of which specials get armor when he uses them.
Yeah, right. So like, I think that was a change, and now he's lower on the tier list. You look at Arctina; she's got some really good abilities. So does Drargos. So does Odon. Those folks are near the top. So I think that might be the thing that gets tweaked, and that might help characters that are a little lower.
Yeah, I mean, so speaking of that, like Bolt and Gamma have the same special action, right? So, if Gamma got a different special action, or if Bolt got a different special action, that could really change the two characters, and potentially give them opportunities for filling out those gaps a bit.
Yeah, and looking at our tier list, I think even though Gamma would already benefit a lot just from his super syncing up better, since he's the lower tier option, I think Gamma might be the better candidate for a brand new action.
Oh, certainly. And I mean, I don't know how much how much doing a buff to get the charged version of a move matters for Gamma as much as it matters for Bolt, right? Like their moves changed very drastically, whereas in that time for Gamma, you could have just been charging and doing the thing. I don't know.
I think Gamma should always do the charged versions of his moves. And then the buff that would make the charged version happen, give him even better versions of those moves.
So, like, get rid of the easy input one entirely?
Yeah, like, because some of the easy input versions of the moves aren't very useful, at least in my experiences. So I'd rather him have, like, the useful version and then give him a stupidly, like, a better version for when he takes the time to charge.
Huh.
You know, not like holding back for 2 seconds charge. I mean, when he hits
yeah.
2 buttons and he does the whole animation,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a time commitment to a character who doesn't want to waste time. Like I was saying before about the bubbles. So if you're committing to the time, make that something real rewarding.
Okay. I'm gonna throw this out there.
Go ahead.
We have Gamma, who is a mercenary, like a mercenary in a robotic type mask, right? Why not let him? One of his special moves can be turn the bubbles, like the meter bubbles, into like actual, like an actual hitbox, right?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Like something like that, where it'll buy him a second where he can start up his game plan.
Exactly, and then tie it in thematically to the type of character that he is, right? So like remote bombs or spike, like
Depth
caltrops or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that would work.
Even if it's not like a hitbox, something maybe like poisoning them.
Hey.
Oh, I gotta stop for a minute. Do I want to take the damage, or do I?
Yeah.
You know, Gamma won't take the damage if they walk through them.
Yep.
But the opponent's like, man, I don't know about this.
No, I definitely agree. And that's kind of the place too. Like the perfect place to move things around, and see where they can be adjusted. So, folks, I want to really, first of all, thank everybody for showing up. I really appreciate you all for taking the time. Thank you, everybody, for sitting in chat as well. We have a couple people all hanging out. I want to give another shout-out real quick to Mr. MKL and Flinju for being such strong champions for this game, as well as Gaming Warthog. Y'all kick so much ass. But yeah, so I also want to announce that we have a tournament coming up in a couple weeks. That is on the 17th. Let me see if I can find that link, and I'll link it in the chat. But that is on the 17th. Y'all who are interested should sign up. We currently have a couple registered people, and yeah. I look forward to
mind if I do a little?
Oh, please,
little
go
show?
ahead.
Fun.
All right, yo, on the 16th, on Saturday the 16th, I will be hosting the Indie Fighting Game Developer Roundtable. On it will be Matrified Games, Matt DeLucas, maker of Merfight. They will be on this roundtable along with Monochromatic Hermit of Heatwave fame, Andrea D of Schwarzer Blitz and Motion Sickness fame, as well as we're going to have Kaizen Creed, the creative director of Five Force Fighters. So we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about the state of the industry, what's going on in fighting games, what's going on in indie game dev, and I hope y'all can make it out and chat with that and support our indies.
Absolutely. That's going to be so fun, and I really appreciate you for hosting that, because that's needed to be a thing for a while, and nobody better to host it than you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very excited.
Can I say something?
Oh, please,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I just wanna. Okay, I just wanna make sure you guys can hear me correctly, right? Because I'm running through fucking Wi-Fi.
It's coming in
Still
and
don't
out,
have
but you're
power,
good.
but I'll make do with what I got. Yeah, no worries. But in case you guys can hear me, I just want to say thank you. I just want to give a special shout outs to both Mohas and Matrified Game for just really promoting this game, as well as Flinju as a whole. This game is really fun. Sadly, I don't have that much time to like get into it because I have other shit. But the game is really dope, and I'm proud to say that I am gonna. If you're in the Puerto Rico area, I am gonna be bringing this game offline. Possibly the first time, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, if you guys are interested in a really fun indie fighter that involves fish, crabs, and all that good stuff, then yeah, if you're around Barroom Brawl, then feel free to let me know, and then I could probably teach you how to play some offline Merfight. It should be hella fun. And one more thing, again, special shoutouts to Mohas for just doing this tier list discussion in the first place. Again, this was all been possible because of your donations during Act 4, which was a charity incentive. So, again, we all made this possible all for a really great cause. So, again, thank you for the bottom of my heart so much for all your contributions. I really appreciate it. And hashtag play Merfight.
Hell yeah. Yeah, thank you, Alex. I really appreciate you showing up. And yeah, once again, this was part of the Act 5 or Act 4 event, and it was really, one of the best charity events I was ever a part of. So I really appreciate you you letting me be part of that.
They're always fun.
Hell yeah, and there's more to come. Just stay tuned.
I don't have anything Merfight related immediately coming up that I know of, but I just did the indie games showcase about a week ago now, and that's all up on my YouTube if anybody wants to watch the Merfight segment or any other game on there. We took like 20 hours out of our lives and we played every single one of the indie games that we could, that we've been playing for tournaments and whatnot. Just gave them a nice casual spotlight. And that's I should find the link for that when I'm talking, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, no, that indie
Don't worry
showcase
about
was
it. Just take your time
absolutely
with it.
delightful.
Yeah,
It was so great seeing folks just hop in and play all those games and like just get to check them out, because you don't always you're not necessarily gonna run and do this by yourself, but like hopping in a Discord chat and just playing some matches with a bunch of friends, that's so good. So glad people got to enjoy.
Dude, Nightbot is the worst. All right.
Wait, what happened with Nightbot?
Nightbot is not gonna let Flinju post the link.
Whatever. Just search me on whatever and you'll find me. I exist.
Yeah.
I always use the same name.
Pornhub.
I even tried to get around it,
Flinju.
leave the space between the dot and the com, and it was too smart for me.
Not allowed, dude. Get out of here. All right.
Well, that's the time of nip powers. I'll see you all in 9 minutes and 40 seconds.
All right. Well, thank you so much for showing up, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. I would love to play some games, but I have some other things I gotta go take care of. Go join the Merfight Discord and shout us out anytime you want to play.
Oh yeah, before we go, one more thing though.
Please.
I'm not sure if this I already have, but any updates on the Adventures in Galactic Storm speedrun race, which was another incentive?
That is something that we
Or
can.
did that happen already?
That has not happened yet. No. I just finished my move, so I'm sort of picking up where I left off from a month and a half ago. So yeah, I'd love to schedule that. I can probably do that
Co-op
next week.
speedrun.
Yeah.
Co-op speedrun.
That sounds fun. I mean, that's the goal. All right. Well,
So
yeah.
I'd be down to just if possible.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's something that we can do maybe on this stream next week or some other time. We'll chat in Discord and we can plan it out. But yeah, we're fulfilling some of the other donation incentives from the Act 4 event, and that was one of them. So we're going to be playing some Avengers Galactic Storm. All right, thank you so much, folks. I do appreciate it. Have a good one and stay safe this weekend. Cheers.
Bye-bye.